Merry Christmas, everybody. It's that time of year. He knows if you've been good. He knows if you've been bad. If you've been good, you get an Alan Ross t-shirt.
Merry Christmas!
And if you've been really, really bad, you know what you get. You get a pair of the Motion X600. Yes, suddenly, apparently, it's all fixed in the newest firmware. But I haven't updated the firmware because I've had enough, quite honestly. And that's where we are. It's Christmas time. Love and joy across the entire world. Well, we'd like to think so, but we won't go there. Politics, we don't do that. Sometimes, but not all the time. In fact, I don't even know why I said it. So I've given the whole game away. Oh no, I'm not going to be playing with my bells anymore, so I'm going to chuck that away. I've given the game away. Do you know why? It's all about your boom boom. Do you know what? I can't see a bloody thing out of these. There you are. It's all about your boom boom. And where are you with that your boom boom? Well, you're very quiet and the neighbours quite like you. But we don't care about that. We don't do neighbours and getting on with people. I know you can get a lot bigger speakers and you keep telling me, why don't you do the bigger ones? You know, when I did tiny ones, you said, get the bigger ones that were even smaller than that. And when I got these, you said, get the even bigger ones. And when I got bigger than that, you said, get... There's no end to it. You can get a £100,000 PA system and you say, get a bigger one. I know that it's all about encouraging me to do more, and quite honestly, I'd love to do more. But if I do one video every 2 weeks, I'm doing really, really well. I'm struggling to do that, to be honest. But as long as I'm enjoying what I do, I'm winding some people up while I'm doing it, it's all good. I'm saying it's all good winding them up, you know, because I'm not doing it. I'm just doing my own thing. And it still winds people up. Here's a major solution. I'm not even a doctor. Here's a cure. Don't watch. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. That's where we started. I didn't even prepare that link. That's how good I am. Right. A speaker I only did once. I told you I really, really like it. And do you know what? I still really, really like it. Who is it? It's the Harman Kardon Go Plus Play 3. I said it was verging on the hi-fi-ish. Major money to get true hi-fi. A lot of people still think SBC, they're all SBC, by the way. They're all SBC, except for the one I threw away, the X600. Does LDAC. The world's gone crazy. I guess it's about headline features or how they actually sound, because this, I liked it before, I like it now. The only problem I have with it is the bass is slightly overdone. I like a warm sound, really, really warm, but it can get a bit much over time because it sounds kind of the samey. But overall, maybe even for a short listen, one of my go-tos. I like how sparkly it is. The downside is got tweeters firing out on the sides. It's a lack of focus. Really sparkly, really nice and forward, but there is a lack of focus. So we've got, what we got? Well, did you know? I showed you before. I'm going to show my bottom again. And there's my bottom. Probably one of the nicest you've ever seen. But we've got downward firing, what they're calling subwoofer. So there's driver firing downwards. That's giving you the bass, which means a lot of the bass will depend on what surface you got it on. So if you've got it on a hard surface like that, you're going to hear a bit more bass than if you've got it on the beach and it's on sand. We already talked about it's not all love and joy when you do that, because a bit more bass, but you're losing a bit of the tightness and a bit of the accuracy. I want to make this quick, and I've already done 20 minutes. I said this one's going to be a quick one because it's Christmas and it's my present to you. A 5-minute video. And I think we've already done the 5 minutes. So the Go Plus Play 3, tweeters, woofers. So tweeters and 2 woofers. That's stereo. A lot of you think 2 tweeters isn't. Well, it's an argument, in my opinion. And who am I? I'm just a nobody. 2 tweeters and 2 woofers make stereo, because bass almost always is not mixed to stereo anyway. It is mono. Not always, but 90% of stuff we're going to listen to is going to be mono. So that doesn't matter. But the woofers matter. And I say that because we've got the Onyx Studio 8. Yes, my favourites are the 5 and 6, but this is the contemporary, so it's a good reference. It's the one you're going to be buying now. Although I think the 5, 6, 7 and the 8 are still on sale, because we got, is it a woofer? Have I got it here? I can't remember where the passive was. So we've got a passive on the back and on the front. Is it on the top? I believe it's on the top. Yeah, so we've got passive, 1 woofer, 2 tweeters, still calling you guys, a lot of you guys, stereo, might be not stereo, 1 woofer, and we may find out that in this video. And of course, everybody loves JBL. I say that without any sarcasm, because they sell more speakers than anybody else. They must be doing something right. Not only have they got a massive, huge one called a logo. Look at that. Look at the JBL boom, 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 boom logo. Oh, we've only got a little one. I'm not going to show it because it's a little one. It's a Harman Kardon little tiny logo. They'd rather you look at that and think of a planet. And who's the planet? Uranus. And this is just really nice with a glass top, classy looking, a proper lifestyle speaker, but still, Harman Go. It's slightly bigger. Is it slightly bigger? Yeah, slightly bigger than the Onyx Studio 8. So a bit more bold there. So the Go Plus Play. Why am I doing these three? Well, they're all boom booms. You've asked for against these amongst the others. I think these are the two most popular you're asking against, and legitimate. That's why I'm doing it. As you know, we've got the tweeters on top of the mid drivers, and it's a single sub in it. Oh man, I know my stuff. I get really, really nervous. That's it. It's one single sub woofer, two woofers, mids, and so it's got more drivers than the others. So stereo. You say stereo, I say tomato. No, I say mono. The other big headline features. I'm going to put this in because it's going to become a thing down the line. I already told you multiple times. In my opinion, for me, take no notice of power ratings because it's meaningless. No standards. Not only is there no standards, sometimes they don't even measure the amp. They're telling you the driver ratings and stuff like that, and then they add them together when they shouldn't and stuff. But I'm going to tell you the official ratings because I know you get really, 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 really excited. The JBL Boombox rated 180 watts on AC, 136 watts on battery. Then they tell us the Onyx Studio 8, 50, we don't know on battery, but I'm just going by what they officially say, 50 watts AC. And they do say RMS. You see, they don't say RMS. They say RMS. Well, that's a real measurement. You don't want to peak because you can have a 50 million, not quite, but you can have a huge watts in peak, but actually produces over time very little. So it is RMS that matters, 50 watts AC RMS, so that's good. And then they say 160 watts RMS. Remember, they don't say RMS. I think that's probably more like an 80 watt, 60 watt speaker. But anyway, that's not here or there. 160 watts, 50 watts. It's going to blow it out of the water, isn't it? And the other big differentiating, I played Scrabble last night, differentiating rating is the battery. So Harman Kardon want you to look at this speaker and say it's really, really nice, show it to your girlfriend, but never actually play it. Why do I say that? Well, because it's got 11.7, that's actually gone up over time, 11.7 watt hours. I mean, we've joked about it before, but that's taking, taking the proverb, but take it, I'm not going to say it. I don't want to get demonetized, we won't go for it. Taking the mickey, taking you for a ride, 11 watts. Absolutely no reason other than they're protecting the sales of other speakers. So it gives you've got to, well, I could get that because I like the look of it. Uranus! And, but anyway, that's terrible. 11 watts for a bass-heavy speaker is terrible. 20, that you get that in small speakers. 25.9 watt hours for the Go Plus Play. It's kind of respectable, but not for a big speaker like that. That's still poor, but more than twice the capacity of the Onyx Studio 8. Compared to the 69.7 watt hours, it's a proper battery on the Boombox 3. See, they're protecting the sales. This is the world we live in. It's a commercial world. It's dog eat dog. What happens if you're a cat? So we're going to get straight in. That's the overview. You know why I'm doing it. I'm telling you now, I really like this speaker. But the bass may be slightly too much for other people. But here we go. 50% volume.
Go Plus Play 3 and the Onyx Studio 8 neck and neck in terms of the bass here. 70 hertz and down, but 70 hertz and above, bit of an advantage, slight advantage to the Go Plus Play 3. The Onyx Studio 8 then is a bit lacking in the mids till you get a bright push, 1 kilohertz to around 4 kilohertz, a bit of a dip and then another peak. The standout for the Go Plus Play 3 is the 6.5 kilohertz peak, a bit of a dip, 5 kilohertz. But outside of that, overall, it's pretty accurate compared to that original track. Both these speakers have a bass boost, but the upper bass boost is bigger on the Go Plus Play 3. Against the Boombox 3, the Go Plus Play 3 actually outkicks it in the bass, and it's all of the bass, deep bass all the way up to 200 hertz. There's a bit of a scoop on the Boombox 3 into the upper bass, which will emphasize its deeper bass a bit more, but it's way behind the Go Plus Play 3. The Boombox 3 does lack in the lower mids. Outside of the 700 hertz peak, you can see where the track dips at 700 hertz. We're really strong on the Boombox 3, and then they're both quite similar till you hit the dip of the 5 kilohertz for the Go Plus Play 3, and then it's got a peak 6.5 kilohertz, but the Boombox 3 is bright all the way up from 4 kilohertz.
Do you know what? Who would have thought it? The Onyx Studio 8 against the Go Plus Play 3 almost sounds mono. Almost as though it's only got one woofer. Oh, hang on a second. It's only got one woofer. It's got 2 tweeters. What did I say? See, and the other problem is, this is design over functionality, because the tweeters, they're right under the handle. Diffraction, all that. I mean, I still don't. I don't know. I don't know how we end up with. And it's not like they've just come up with it. The original one of the Onyx Studio, not the Onyx Studio, but the one that was a forerunner, the Prelude, anyway, before the Onyx Studio series had that. Then they did it on the 7 and it's obscuring the tweeters. You're getting issues because of that. So there you go. It sounds mono against that because it's mono, in my opinion. And that sounds much wider. So that to me sounds warmer, fuller, and that's narrower, almost compressed sounding. It's still a nice speaker, but it was not for me. I prefer the 5 and 6, bit more warmth to it. This is a bit clinical, not as bad as the 7. I didn't like the 7 at all. I can listen to this, but it's not, it's not rocking my world, and I'm quite, it's if it was my only speaker, yeah, fair enough. Some speakers have peculiarities where it's got a nice character, but it can't be your only speaker because you're missing too much. This could be your only speaker, except you won't go portable. So what is the point of the battery? Just give us the mains, give us more power. At 50% volume, bass is not that different. The difference in terms of mid-deeper bass, at these volumes, it can match the Go Plus Play 3, but Go Plus Play 3 overall is more accurate into the mids and the highs, and it has more upper bass. So this is more sculpted to bring out that deeper bass. You're losing some upper bass, and you're losing some lower mids. More sculpted, more accurate, but warmer, more upper bass. Again, you may not. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's better than the Harman Kardon Onyx Studio 8. It does have peculiarities. Played Scrabble last night. Peculiar thingamajigs. 6.5 kilohertz peak and a 5 kilohertz dip. Not major over the top. Not like on the Boombox 3, the 700 hertz peak. But it's there. But overall, pretty accurate you of a boosted bass. Not hugely, but because it's full, it could still be over the top because unlike, you get the one note peaks a lot on the JBL speakers, you've got a full bass from the uppers, mids, and into the deeper bass, as far as these can do deeper bass. When I say that, I'm talking about heading towards 40 hertz. If you had a subwoofer that only went towards 40 hertz, you'd take it back and ask for your money back. Why else would you take it back? Yeah, good point. The real shock to me was actually that because I hadn't measured them. So the thing about the Boombox 3, again, sculpted bass, they're digging out the upper bass to bring out that deeper bass. There is deeper bass there. So you get more of a sense of it when that's a fuller bass. But it is out-kicking, it's out-bassing the Boombox 3. At 50%, it's out-bassing the Boombox 3. That was a surprise to me. Overall, that sounds thinner, brighter. It's definitely a brighter speaker. But this is pretty accurate. I have to say, this is pretty accurate. Other than you get a lack of focus of the highs because it's outspread. But outspread, it's spreading it out sort of thing. But what you do get is a lovely, sparkly nature to it. So it's not like it's diffuse and soft because of that. It's just not tight in the middle. But it's kind of surrounding you. It's almost like spatial audio. In fact, it is spatial audio because spatial audio is stereo. It's not without an upward firing driver. I see people still saying, and it's a spatial audio, it's got an upward firing driver. No, it's spatial audio because it's stereo. Spatial audio, you could argue, but for me, that's not spatial audio. So, yeah, we've got the 700 hertz huge peak, that's the problem there. We've got a sculpted bass, so we've got less upper bass. From 3.5 kilohertz and up, it's all on an upward slant. It is brightly tuned, but at lower, 50% of these speakers is moderate volumes. It's not such an issue. It just gives you a bit more clarity. Remember, accuracy is all about the volume that you listen at, because you're going to perceive certain frequencies differently, which is why you get bass adjustment. For me, in that 50% test, that was the winner. But the bass is so full and kind of boosted, but not boombox style, but it is boosted. It may be too much for some, and even for me, over a long listen, it's kind of samey. But I'm still going to say, this is a really, really lovely sounding speaker, as long as you like a warm sound, and it's quite accurate. So we're going to go to 75%, where you sort out the men from the boys. So I don't know what. Well, yes. In the I need to explain that. We sort out the serious speakers from the less serious speakers, because 75% volume is normally where they start tailing off, and they've done things in the tuning, because 50% sounds fantastic, but there's no headroom, so they have to start tailing everything off as you go up to the. If they're still holding their own at 75%, you know that's seriously tuned. So 75% volume.
I wanna throw them hands on my hips, got my head spin around. Got you laughing on my brain, I'm a little upset. Can't stop now, no, we're not done yet. Move like this, I move like that. If you give a little, then you give it right back. I'ma lay it on your dick till we say goodbye. Do it up like we only got one night, one night. On my hips, got my head spin around. Got you laughing at my brain, I'm a little upset. Can't stop now, no, we're not done yet. Move like this, I move like that. If you give a little, then I give it right back. I'ma lay it on your dick till we say goodbye. Do it up like we only got one night, one night.
Let's get big until I forget my name. Let's get big. Jump right, slide to the left. Let's get big. Live it up while you can, and let's do it again. Let's get big. If you wanna dance, I can tell you about this place I know, somewhere hidden in the sky. No, don't waste your energy, even though we're 23. Gotta give you roll tonight. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Until I forget my name, let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big. Let's get big.
Louder volumes now, and actually the Go Plus Play 3 still outkicks in terms of the bass the Boombox 3. Only now we see a bit of advantage 50 hertz and down for the Boombox 3, but it's very small really. But the nature of its suck out in the upper bass will emphasize that deeper bass more. But again, the standout is a 700 hertz peak on that Boombox 3, which is more problematic as you go up the volume scales. Lower volumes adds just a bit of clarity overall. Again, both pretty accurate after that 1 kilohertz and above. We've got the signature 5 kilohertz dip on the Go Plus Play 3, but it's still brighter on the Boombox 3. It's a stronger boost in the high end. Onyx Studio 8 pretty lost now in terms of that bass. Well, it's rolling off from 400 hertz really, compared to both the original track and the Go Plus Play 3. It emphasizes its mids a bit more than the Go Plus Play 3, but it is boosted. The signature 5 kilohertz dip for the Go Plus Play 3, but a big peak at the high end, 10 kilohertz for the Onyx Studio 8. So of all three speakers, this is where we get the biggest difference. The louder volumes now. The Onyx Studio 8, the bass doesn't really hold up.
I do what I want. Do what I want.
The good news is it's not that much different in this testing than 50%. So they are serious speakers. They're not toys. Some speakers are toy-like in their tuning. It's like one volume tuning. You get it just right. The people who play it at that one volume, you know, they're happy days. Can say it's one of the best they've ever heard. But you know, you really want a bit more control across the volume steps. So still warmer, actually still outbassing the Boombox 3. That was a shock to me. I didn't even realize until I do the measurements. To your ears, because it's sculpted, and that's the reason they do it sculpted, it brings out more of that deeper bass. So you still get a sensation of a bit more deeper bass. Actually, this is outbassing it, and it's more accurate across because we've got lack of lower mids and upper bass to sculpt that bass. And we've got the 700 hertz peak, which becomes problematic now at these volumes. You become more sensitive now as you got the volume steps, and so that's when it starts grating. And it's bright. So, you know, it's a boombox on its own. But against the Go Plus Play 3, it's a bright sounding speaker and a bit on the thin side. But, you know, the highs are more focused because, as we always said, these are firing outwards, which gives you a nice spreader sound, but you're going to get a lack of focus because of it. But this is still warmer and more accurate overall. Outside of it, 6.5 kilohertz peak, but they're not massive peaks. And the 5 kilohertz dip, it's the only problematic areas. Really, really nice. But there's the clue. I said it can be a bit much over a long listen. It's out, even at 75%, it's out booming the Boombox 3. Here's the other thing. This is something we don't talk about much. There's only so much I can really test, and we want to say, you know, I'm doing hour-long videos. It's already getting really, really silly. And the whole point of me trying to not cover everything, just cover what I think really matters in portable Bluetooth speakers. You know, when they do a lot of you asking for off-axis measurements. That matters when you've got fixed speakers and you're dealing with reflections, and so to have to deal with less, you want the off-axis response to be nearer the on-axis response. But when you're moving room to room and you're going all about, it's not really a major issue. Yes, it's off-axis. Look, it matters in that you still want to hear it, you know, a bit off-axis, but it doesn't matter in that it has to be that accurate compared to the on-axis, in my personal opinion. We're not talking about, you can even read what it says. I can't remember. Well, yeah, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, the off-axis. So, yeah, that one. Why was I talking about that? Oh, yes. Because we don't often talk about dynamic response, the headroom. And here's the thing: when the track has a reasonable bass boost, these bass boosted speakers end up having being more bass heavy than the original track. But when it's a massive boost in the area where they're already boosted, so mid bass here, as on that Castello track, now you're really pushing it. Now it's massively outgunned on a track, on specifically these bigger bass tracks, because it hasn't got the dynamic range. So it's falling back, whereas a speaker like that has more dynamic range can handle it. Do you know why? It's got downward firing sub, it's got the two, it's got a dedicated downward firing driver. It's got two mids, so it's handling some of the upper bass. And that's got one woofer, subwoofer, whatever you want to call it. So it hasn't got the headroom, the dynamic headroom, the dynamic range when it's really massively boosted. And that's something to take into consideration because it matters here. So on moderately boosted, moderately bass heavy tracks, it's going to be bass heavy. But what if it's hugely bass boosted, because you still got to drive the mids and the highs, dynamic range limited. It's actually got less bass in the original track, and that's still, even there on that Castello track, neither of them could quite handle that boost. Whereas if it wasn't so heavy, if it was like a straight line track, they would be more bass heavy. It's not something we talk about. I talk about it here specifically because it shows the limitations of having one woofer versus a dedicated sub and two mids. Okay, got out of the way. Almost like we're techies. So the conclusion to that is, it can't handle 75%. It can't handle. It's being outgunned. It sounds narrow. It doesn't fall apart in the real world, but it's falling apart against these speakers because it doesn't have the headroom or the dynamic range, if you want, at 75% volume that these have. So, same result anyway. It's warmer, more bass, more accurate because it's heavy. It's got more in the upper bass. It's more accurate in terms of how it's bass boosted.
evenly across the upper bass, mid bass, deep bass, whereas that's sculpted and it can't match it in the same way. So same result really at 50%, at 75%, just that it becomes more problematic, the 700 hertz peak and the woofer, single woofer, now having problems with dynamic range. We went 50% to 75%. What happens after that? We don't go home. Well, some of you have already gone. Fair enough. I don't blame you. But, well, I do blame you. I don't know why I said I don't blame you. Of course I blame you. I've taken the effort to do this, and you've taken the effort to start watching, but you didn't watch. Average watch time, 10 minutes. It's actually gone up. I think when I first started, it was like 5 minutes, 7, now 10 minutes. I'm actually pretty chuffed about that. Maximum volume. Maximus volume testing.
Well, maximum volume, that's where the Boombox 3 finally shows what you're paying for. Well, you get more volume. But, you know, even then, it's all about that 700 hertz peak. It's actually quite balanced after that. But it's a massive 700 hertz peak. And then it's completely rolled off below that. So it's actually losing its bass. But in terms of loudness, yes, it's massively, massively louder than the other two speakers. The Onyx Studio 8 is pretty lost now. It's matching the Go Plus Play 3 around 1.5 kilohertz. But below that, massively rolled off in the bass compared to the Go Plus Play 3. If you normalize the Go Plus Play 3, so we overlay it against the Boombox 3, they're both pretty similar, 1.5 kilohertz and above. Then we've got that massive 700 hertz peak. But you can see, in terms of the overall shape of the sound signature, the purple line, the Go Plus Play 3, remains more balanced with only a little bit of a roll-off in the deeper bass. But it's normalized. The reality is, it can't do the volume. It can't do the volume, but it can do the balance.
So that's interesting because we talked about the what? The watts at lower volumes. 50%, 160 watts. So 50 watts, 160 watts. But the difference was probably less than 3 decibels, which would be the equivalent of doubling the power. So that can't be right in both cases. And I think I haven't measured surface area, but it's got that much more drivers anyway. So more power, more surface area would go massively louder. The one that does go massively louder, of course, is the Boombox 3 that says 180 watts. Maybe it really is 180 watts, but it's a bit meaningless, really, I still say the spec rating. We just want to know how loud it goes, and we've actually tested it. And of course, I say massively louder, but of course, when you normalise what they're actually doing, it's dropped basically all of its bass, and you're just getting the mids. That's still got a hefty amount of bass. Yes, it's not going as loud, but what I was trying to demonstrate there in normalising it to that is that it's holding onto its bass. It could have gone louder if it was dropping as much bass as that one. So, yeah, maybe 160 against 180. That's not here or there. But what we do know is, so this power, this loudness rating that we give, and we say, you know, I know you don't. I know it's that geezer. Well, you watch my video. I've got no idea who you are. On Reddit that has, I think, the most up-rated, up-arrowed thread on Reddit anyway, or the Bluetooth speakers or whatever. I don't know if it's supposed to be in the universe or what. The very, very useful sheet of his ratings of all the Bluetooth speakers. Reveal yourself. Who are you? Because if you turn out to be Oliver, it's going to be really, really weird. But you take all my decibel ratings, and this is my point. First of all, it's not measured in the way that you would do in the industry. I'm measuring it now. Because of your testing, because of his testing, because he wants to use my maximum decibel sound pressure level rating. I've standardized it. It wasn't standardized, and this is the thing a lot of people don't get about these ratings it surprises me how little people understand about these ratings. First of all, no, my ratings are 1 meter C rated, 1 meter C weighted, but it's on the actual track that I'm playing. And of course, all tracks have a different overall loudness level, loudness wars and all that. So you can't take much. So they're relative within that test. If you go back on the test, so now standardize it. I will always use the same track for maximum volume to help. That Reddit guy, if he reveals himself, I don't know. I would love to know who you are. You clearly watch all my videos. So now standardized. So a bit more to compare between speakers on different videos, but only on that ONLAP track. And it has about a plus or minus 1 dB range of error. You should know that. All ratings have a margin of error. My equipment's quite good. That's actually not too bad. Obviously, if I paid mega money, it would be a bit more accurate than that, but that's accurate enough. So on that, so we get 100.7, isn't it, for the Onyx Studio 8? Now I look back, I did use the on that track on the previous one. We had 101. It shows, now I've standardized it. It's pretty accurate to use those figures. But people should know it's on that particular track. If people are playing on different tracks, and they may get a lot more or a lot less in terms of volume, and then say the figure was wrong. It's on that track at 1 meter, C weighted. So yeah, massively louder, and there's the reason. Hasn't got the bass. So my conclusion to all of this is, this is a really nice speaker. It's got a hi-fi nature to it. It's very accurate. Outside, it has got a boosted bass, but as we talked about dynamic range, as boosted as it is, if your track is massively boosted, it won't match it. And all these speakers will struggle to do that sort of thing. We're talking about cheap Bluetooth speakers at the end of the day, SBC codecs. So you've got to be realistic in your expectations. For me, one of the nicest speakers I've heard in terms of the price range. We'll get onto the price range now, talk about the specs. None of them are perfect. Even for me, that bass can be a bit too much over a long listen. I never use that for a normal listen, and also I prefer the Wi-Fi. This is of course the Bluetooth version. I prefer the Wi-Fi version. I did this one because it's more of a real, not many people seem to be getting the Wi-Fi, so what's the point? It's all about reference points. And for me, don't listen to that either. I never really, I mean, it's okay, it's quite nice on its own, but too many speakers off a bit more. You got my conclusion. I said it was nice the first time, and now I'm saying it's still a really nice speaker. I can highly recommend it. Just know it's going to be quite heavy on the bass, but very accurate overall, with the nice sparkly highs, but a bit diffuse, won't be tightly focused. So the Boombox 3, and this is what it's all about. The Boombox 3 coming in, 345 quid or $400 come down a bit. These prices on the day I check them. So the most expensive here, 345 quid, $400. The Onyx Studio 8, £240, $170. And the Go Plus Play 3, the newest one, isn't it? So 300 quid, $280. $280, I mean, in today's, what we have to pay for certain speakers, I think it's great value. But yes, the Onyx Studio 8 is cheaper. So for me, I would never consider the Onyx Studio 8 over that. And then take into account the silly design and the silly battery. But the Boombox 3 does what it does. It's going to go blinking loud. You're going outdoors, and it's got a decent battery, and that's the thing. That may be the only thing that matters to you. It's going to have better real-world battery life. It's got a proper battery. It's 70 watt-hours for the type of speaker it is, and it's dropping its bass anyway, so it's going to get more battery life at the really loud volumes you're likely to be playing at. They all have multi-point support. All do Bluetooth. no shit, Batman. They all have Bluetooth 5.3 on the Boombox 3, and it's 5.2 on the other two. All do stereo pairing. You get 100 plus speakers, not officially rated to do party mode, but only do stereo mode. But I know you tell me there's workarounds. I've never got any of them working. But 100 plus, we know it's partly boost on the Boombox 3. All of them have mains charging. Well, what have I said on this? No, we have they all do mains charging. I don't know why I put it. The thing about the Onyx Studio 8 we should mention is it's got automatic room tuning, acoustic tuning. It will adjust itself, they say, to the room you're in. But when I tested it, I couldn't measure any difference at all. Very hard to measure that because you're going from room to room to measure it. But I tried to do it the best I could. If you go back on my live versus dead room, I didn't really see any difference at all. Can all be used as a power bank. don't have card slots, but the JBL, the USB-A socket on the back can be used to play your own tracks, your own music off of the device itself. But you know what? You can only do that in America. Outside of America, you're screwed. In terms of the weight, well, it's massively heavier for the Boombox 3. It's 6.7 kilos, 3.5 kilos for the Studio 8, and 4.7 kilos for the Go Plus Play 3. No IP rating for the Harman Kardon. no IP rating for the Harman Kardon speakers, whereas IP67, so dustproof and 1 meter of water for 30 minutes, and it will float, but not with the drivers up on the JBL Boombox 3. So we talked about the drivers, the spec. I'm not going to go over all of the size drivers because the specs are there for you to read. Just know that we had that racetrack subwoofer, 2 mids, 2 tweeters, obviously 2 passive radiators, 2 passive radiators, 2 passive radiators, 1 woofer, 2 tweeters, 2 tweeters, 2 woofers, and downward firing subwoofer. They do all have an auxiliary input, which is really unusual, but yep, they're still giving us an auxiliary input. Bad news is on the Go Plus Play 3 at 112 milliseconds shows you there's lots of processing going on even on the auxiliary input, so unusable for DJing. 42 milliseconds for the Onyx Studio 8 is not good, so none of them are naught, and even on the Boombox 3 I'm getting 25 milliseconds, which is auxiliary should be 0, but they've all got processing going on, which is unfortunate. None of them are good for YouTube. 100 milliseconds, 120 milliseconds, 175 milliseconds. For me, that's too much noticeable lip sync. Only the JBL Boombox 3 has an app, and some of you love it. Personally, I think it's a joke. It's three band sort of slider. It does different things at different volumes. We'll just try and fool you that you put up the bass and actually it's just reducing the mids and the highs and stuff like that. So for me, yeah, it's not here or there, not a massive game changer, but it is for some. If you listen at one particular volume will make a difference. But it's, for me, if you set an EQ and then you go to different volumes, it's not doing anything consistent, which makes it a bit pointless. But there you go, it's got a 3-band sort of graphic equalizer. That's the end of the video. The conclusion is, I really like the speaker. It's got a hi-fi nature to it. It's one of the nicest speakers I've heard, but the bass will still be a bit much for some people. But just know, in terms of the mids and the highs, it's very accurate, but still has its waviness, its resonances, and its problems like most speakers, but less than most other speakers I've tested or tried. Don't forget, I don't actually review every speaker. I don't have the time. So we've got I put out, just to give you an example, got the Rave 2. The W King 320, the Harman Kardon Luna. I don't know if I'll do reviews because I simply don't. I have to, every couple of weeks I get a chance to do maybe one video and I have to say what's the most interesting. To me, I wanted to let you know because I used to talk about, you know, my pound for pound champions all the time. I'm not saying it's pound for pound, it's still on the pricey side. It's not, maybe not completely an all-round speaker being on the warm side, but it is a speaker I'm going to keep recommending because it's really, really nice compared to, it's not massively priced compared to some alternatives. So it's definitely one to consider. So I need to do more of these AEBs, and you've been asking for it. So I figured at this point, yeah, that's the one I'm going to be doing. So it does make a difference. I know you put in the comments, oh, trust this. I do take a note, but I have to go by what's most interesting to me, what's massively interesting to you by how many people have requested that speaker. Just know, I still buy speakers that I never get round to actually putting a video out, simply because don't worry. I mean, I can tell you, to me, that's lacking a bit of oomph to it, but it does project the highs quite nicely. It's not a game changer for me, but it's decent enough if you don't massively value your deeper bass. Harman Kardon Luna, massively deep bass. It's actually really impressive. The amount of bass you get out of that is really impressive, but very quickly becomes tiring. The Rave 2 is another upper bass machine, which seems to be the way for Soundcore. They've moved away from the original tuning, going for a sort of tuning since the Motion Plus that I don't particularly like. Some of you will like it, especially if you're going outdoors. I can only tell you, in my opinion and stuff, and all that. That was it. Hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll meet again. Thank you for watching.
What the f*** was that?
You boom.
It comes from China.
My speaker's got deep bass, balanced mids, and a bright high.
Yes, mine sounds exactly the same.